What's going on, everyone? Trying a slightly different setup tonight, so let's see how this works out. What's going on, David? Wow, midnight over there. Thanks for hopping on, man. I appreciate that. All right, so lots of interesting stuff we got going on today. We got Herbert Diess is going to be leaving VW at the end of the year, or at the end of August. Sorry. So yeah, I know we've got a question here from Mark already asking about, if he has a contract that stops him from working on another auto company. Most likely he does. I'm assuming he's got some sort of non-compete clause. What's going on, Moon? Yeah, usually there's a non-compete clause. Most companies have it like 2 years. So how his is going to work, I don't know. Judging by what I have heard so far on Twitter, sounds like it is a mutual parting of ways. So no hard feelings, sort of like an Andre leaving Tesla type situation. I don't know the details behind it. But yes, David, I thought about that myself, but if there's a non-compete clause, then he cannot go work for Tesla. Although I did think about it afterwards, maybe he'll do something with lithium refining. Who knows? Hopefully we'll find out soon, see what's going on. But I mean, we saw last year when Herbert and Elon got together, they have a mutual respect for each other. I think Elon likes Herbert, because Herbert wants to see, the future moving forward towards EVs. So honestly, from what I see at this point, I think this is going to be a bad thing for VW. I think Herbert being part of VW was the reason they were going to be one of the legacy automotive makers that were going to make it. And now he's gone. And we already knew about the tensions between him and the rest of the board and the fact that he really wanted to push harder for EVs and they did not. So we may see VW not do as well. We'll see how that plays out going forward. But yeah, that's it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But we may see, I don't know what that non-compete clause is, if there even is one. But that would be fantastic if Herbert did come over, especially helping out Giga Berlin. I mean, talk about having insider info and knowing your competition. Yeah, there's a lot of you guys from the Netherlands and everything. You guys are awesome. I cannot wait. I've never actually been to, I guess you could call it mainland Europe. I've been to Iceland, I've been to Norway and Sweden. But I want to get to the rest of Europe. I've got to get to Italy so I can scope it out to buy my castle. And yeah, so many of you guys from Europe. So thank you for being on, because I know it's definitely late there. Let me see. So looking at the charts here, so I'm finally now able to show you guys some charts now that I'm learning how to do this live stream thing. So looking at these charts, let me blow it up for you a little bit. So when I was talking the other day about the consolidation, what's going on, Norbert? So this is the consolidation we were seeing here. See here, there's this high point, and then we were trending down, low point trending up. This is the consolidation. And as you're consolidating, you can break out at any point, which is why we were talking about the other day about potentially the earnings being a breakout or breakdown point for Tesla. Clearly, we saw it broke out. Breaking out just means it breaks above this trend line, which it did. And then today was awesome because the entire market was selling off. And if any of you guys are able to watch the video this morning talking about how, Seed yesterday had mentioned it in the comments, we're anticipating this pullback. And we had talked about that pullback potentially coming. And now we're seeing that in the broader market. But Tesla held up super strong. Now, there is that 3-day rule when it comes to earnings. We usually don't want to touch the stock, within 3 days after earnings, because there's a lot of kind of readjustment going on. And that's why I'm talking about, us finding that new range for us to trade in. So currently that's where we are at right now, as we've broken out. We are now fighting against the macro. You guys saw it today. We ran up to 842. I actually had my lowest price share in my IRA with a sell order at 850. That did not trigger today, but we got pretty close. So who knows what Monday's going to bring? But next week we've got a lot of stuff going on next week that could definitely move this market. And if we saw a bit of a sell-off today, Next week could either be, I really don't know. It's going to be such a coin toss. We've got earnings, significant earnings Tuesday. I think I got to take a look at my notes and see what we have for earnings that we had. Yeah, so Google and Microsoft are going to be on Tuesday, and Google is going to be interesting since they just split this past week. FOMC is going to be Tuesday, Wednesday. We are anticipating, thanks, Melander. We are anticipating a 75 basis point hike. The market had been pricing in a 100 basis point hike. Judging by the little bit of a rally we got, that may have been kind of readjusted to a 75. And then we've got the GDP data coming out on Thursday. We've got other earnings. We've got Facebook on Wednesday. We've got Apple and Amazon on Thursday. Lots of different things that could be moving this entire market. And as we saw today, despite the fact that Tesla was running and did outperform the market, the macro did weigh on Tesla itself and pulled it back down to basically break even on the day. But I still get to wear the smelly green shirt today. So I'm definitely going to have to invest in some more of these, maybe some different shades depending on what amount we're up. And we'll save this one here for those huge gain days, and I'll have some like dark green ones for some minor green days. So other things I look at here, and these are things I talk about. So this is the RSI down here. And I can change this to a lot of different settings. If you guys don't, this is Webull. I don't even trade through Webull. I just use it for their charts because I like them. And so the RSI is what I look at. So for those of you who are learning, the RSI spread normally is between 30 and 70. So underneath 30 is going to be your oversold range, and over 70 is overbought. And that's usually just a good indicator to let you know that, the stock over 70, and Tesla's pushing 66 right now. So a stock over 70 is like, it's overbought a little bit. So we're anticipating a little bit of a sell-off. Doesn't mean it has to come down significantly. Might just sell off a little bit and come down under 70. And then sometimes the RSI kind of levels off on just average trading days. So it could balance out without having to have an actual massive sell-off. And then same thing goes the opposite. So, back when we had seen, we'll go back here, these times, January when we saw it coming, we were down around 33. We saw it in February when that was the massive dip, down around that 30, 32 range. And then we saw it again here in March. March. So those were the times that we saw that dip significantly. And those were the times where I was telling you guys, pay attention to this because these are great buying opportunities right now. And now, obviously, those of us who are playing Tesla long-term, every day is a great buying opportunity. So today, I still added my $20 per day, still building up on that. But now at this point where we're pushing that 66, 67 mark, this is where I kind of say, not to say you shouldn't buy, you guys got to do your own due diligence. But when I'm looking at it, I'm kind of saying, all right, I'm not going to be adding extra. I was still DCA, but I'm waiting for us to find a footing. We have the gaps that go down to 742. And it's harder for me to see it on here. For me, I usually go to, let me see if I have it up. No, I don't have it up on the other page. So I'll go to just Yahoo Finance, and you just look at any website you want to go to that will show you just basically historical prices. And I look at open, close, and see if we filled that gap. And right now we have a gap that goes down to 742.50, which is right here. So this is the gap I'm anticipating us filling at some point. The great news about this gap is it's right inside this consolidation zone. And again, it's higher than the other gaps we made before. So now this is where we monitor. We don't know what is going on with the stock going forward. Nobody knows what the future is going to hold. Again, Seed is saying we're going to be coming down. Others are saying that we're going to be going up and rallying through the end of July and into August. Maybe Tesla bucks the trend a little bit and stays higher than the macro. Lots of different things can happen. This is why I track these charts every single day and just see, all right, where are we headed? And again, for me as a long-term investor, I'm not trying to do this as swing trading. I'm doing this more for my own education. And there are some other things I do swing trade. I mean, I've got all my stocks over here on the side. And, and some of these I have swung in and out of. AMD right now, I lucked out, we could say. But basically just playing the strategy that I had, I ended up buying in at $72 for AMD. So because I don't know what's going on in the future, I like AMD long term, but we could still see some massive headwinds in the market. So because of that, I did put a 5% stop in on it so I can get any gains if I do. And then if it pulls back, I'll buy lower. Things like that I would do with Tesla in my IRA. I will not do it in my main portfolio. I don't have enough shares to play with in Tesla. I'm really looking at it for minimum 10 years. So I'm going to go that route. And then SLI. So I know we've talked a lot about lithium. Elon talks about it all the time, lithium. And SLI for me is my lithium play. There's LAC as another one. I've got that on here somewhere. Where did I put it? Yep, LAC is another great lithium play. And actually at 22, I kind of liking that. I might actually get into this. I wish I was paying attention to it more. My work has been crazy busy, so I haven't had a chance to dive in. But LAC is a great one, especially if it gets back under 20 again. I would definitely buy in on that one. Let me see. Zoom the gap by pressing. Oh, hold on, Irene. This is great. Let me check this. Zoom the gap by pressing to the $Y coordinate. Pull up. Let me try that. Look at you educating me. This is awesome. So go to the dollar sign. Gosh, I don't know where that is on here. Yeah, Jerry, I'm definitely buying fractional shares. I'm really looking forward to the split because, I know valuation doesn't change on it whatsoever, but for me, it's just, that psychological thing that holds true for a lot of people. You get that psychological, hey, I can actually buy a full share at a time instead of having to do fractional shares. Irene, I'm not sure what dollar sign we're talking about. I will play around with this, so thank you for pointing that out. Right, like this one over here. This is great. This is why I like the live streams, because I can actually talk with you guys right here live and do this. $Y coordinate. We'll play around with it later. I'll figure it out. Thank you, Irene, though. I will figure this out. So this is what I'm looking at for the stock, and this is why, again, I do it for my own learning purposes, and because I track it mostly on Tesla, because that's really where a lot of my focus is. When I do go out to check another stock, I can see the similar patterns that are going on, see the ups and downs, check the RSI, see how we're trading. Like Affirm right now is one of the ones that I was stupid enough to hold on to it, should have sold it, didn't. It happens. My cost basis on it is like $79. So for me, where I'm at, I'm not going to take a loss on it. I'll ride it out. I think Affirm is going to do fine in the future. Might actually do well when we finally get to an environment where we have risk on and people are willing to take chances on high growth stocks again. So that's why I'm not looking to dump a lot. For me, there's a few things like I have thinned, like Nano Dimension, another one. This here. My dollar cost average is high, but what I have done with this one here is I've just trimmed a little bit off the top. So I brought my cost basis down on it. I took a little bit of a loss, but that's going to offset some of the gains that I have also. Irene's giving me more directions. This is great. Hold on. Press the mouse button in the colored dollar. Like that? I mean, that's pretty cool too. I will continue to play with this. So I do continue to thank you for your directions on this. And to make the trend line, so if you guys do want to use Webull, this is how I make my trend lines up here. So I just click on the trend line, click it, run it, because now we're basically starting an upward trend. So this is where I want to track and see how we go. We've made this kind of start of an upward trend. So we'll see if we can continue this. Not enough days really in it right now to track it. So that's where we're going to monitor. Okay, so I did get it. Awesome, cool. Thank you for those directions. I appreciate that. Yeah, so you can really spread this out and see where we're at for the gaps here. So that does help. So I mean, if there's any stocks you guys want me to jump into and track for you guys, I can do that now. Now I have the ability to actually show you guys some charts. So if you guys want me to dive into stuff, I certainly can. Yeah, Paul, with Dees, I know we were talking about it before. It'll be interesting to see if Tesla can pick him up. I don't know what the non-compete clause is going to be for him. It's similar to like an Andre thing. Andre's going to go into an AI field, but somewhere else. And I'm sure because of the way they parted ways, Elon's not going to be too concerned about Andre going. He's probably going to wish him the best and hope. And I don't think, Andre is going to go to somebody else and do basically the same thing, because he would have stayed at Tesla if that was the case. He's not leaving for more money elsewhere. But Dees, on the other hand, we don't know specifically yet. There was an article that came out. What I saw was all in German. I didn't have a chance to translate it. And my 3 years of high school German wasn't enough for me to read it. So I'll have to try and get more details on that later. Let me see if we got any other info that came out recently. Yeah, so as we were talking this morning, 4,000 in the S&P was the big number we were looking for. And so, it basically hit that 4,000 early in the day, right within that first wild hour, the first trading hour, and then came down hard off of that. Tried to push back up a few more times. So now this is where we monitor and we pay attention and say, all right, are we going to go back up, or is this now the downward trend that we have started in the macro environment again? People have been talking for a while about us going down to 3,400. So maybe we went up and we're bouncing down, and we're going to come down because we're starting to see this earnings recession. A lot of different things can happen. And again, this is why I hate making predictions, especially in markets like this. Gosh, when you're in a bull market, you can be like, yeah, stock's going to go up next week, and it's probably going to go up next week. And in a bear market, man, it could go any which direction. Again, next week we may see some days that are 3% up, the next day is 3% down. All right, so Sweden doesn't have fractional trading. Yeah, I know there's a lot of countries out there that don't have fractional trading. That stinks. But it'll be good once we finally get a split, because then you guys can dollar cost average on a more regular basis. And it's not like you're going to have to save up all your pennies to try and get 1 or 2 shares here and there. So that'll be nice for when it goes forward. I'm really curious as to why some countries allow it and some don't. For me, based on SoFi, does not look, they have said I don't have any fees. So I don't have any fees that I have to pay for my fractional trading. Let me see. Oh, David, you put a game in there. I saw you made a post in the we do have a Discord channel. If you guys want to check it out, I did put it in the description of the video. So apparently David Studio Malacca there, he put a game down there. So I'll have to check that out later. I'm actually going to see my old roommates. Is it like a kid game? Because I'm going to see my old roommates and their kids tomorrow. We can play, or I'll see my kid on Sunday and we can play too. Let's see. What else do we have in the news? I got some Twitter. Bring this up. Oh yeah. So Model Y is coming out of Berlin. So I don't know if you guys saw that today. The Model Y is coming out of Berlin. They have 4680s already. Now, last I knew, they weren't going to be getting this up and running until like September or October. So to have these already coming out in July, that was a big one for me. Let me know if you guys had known about this coming out this soon, because I knew that they were doing the upgrades in there, but I thought the upgrades were just, kind of like retooling to kind of increase production. I didn't realize it was to do the 4680s. That was a wild one. And then they also confirmed that they are done with it, so they will be resuming production on Monday. So that's awesome news. And then what's going on, Kairev? And then Shanghai is also bumped up. And last I knew in Cairo, I'm glad you're on now to give us the breakdown on the numbers. So it looks like is Shanghai now set for run rate capacity of 23,800 per week? Because that's higher than the 22,000 that we had previously thought, which is outstanding. So I'm very excited to see that. Just running through. You guys are basically going to see how I run my day and where I get my information from. And some of you guys are on here, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. Let me see what we got. Yeah, so they've got it upgraded. So this is good, and I'm actually going to be curious as to what they're going to have for capacity and run rate of the 4680s coming out of Berlin. We know that they're aiming for 1,000 4680 battery packs out of Austin by the end of the year. So if Berlin is starting that now, maybe they're going to get to 500 by the end of the year, which would still be amazing. All right, so Chris Zhang reported that consists of 2,200 Ys and 1,200 threes a day. All right, so that's going to be 3,400 a day, and they run 7 days a week. 400 times 7, so yeah, 23,800. Dang. So wow, that's awesome. That is way above capacity, and again, Shanghai getting to that point already is very early. And I heard, and I don't know how true it is, but I heard that they're going to be going down for a couple of days in August and a couple more days in September. Shouldn't really affect things much. I don't know what that's for, if it's just a continuation of what they're doing now. But still, that is going to be great for the end of the year. I know I'm going to be updating all of my production forecasts this weekend. I'm going to update my price targets. So if you guys are over on Patreon, you'll see them there. Otherwise, at the end of the month, I will share them with all of you guys on here. But yeah, that's looking at some very, very interesting things coming up. And Gary Black, and I don't know if who of you guys are on Twitter, but Gary Black is a great one that I like to follow. He's a bull, very much a bull, but he's like, I'd call him a conservative bull. Very grounded, very much analyst-sided of things. So when I'm getting into things and I'm getting really excited and pumped about the future, I try not to let my euphoria take me and my emotions to a place that are just unsafe to be. I do have high confidence and conviction in the company. I have a feeling we're going to do very well. I've got a price target of still over $11,000 for 2030. But when I start to really look at things and I start to kind of let myself get away, I go and I look at Gary Black and he kind of reels me back in, reminds me, yes, Tesla's awesome. Tesla's a company I definitely want to be invested in, but just be careful because, maybe you're getting your inflated emotions out of the way. All right, so Berlin's only doing test production. Oh, okay, all right. So I didn't even realize that they had the 4680 stuff up and running over there yet. I didn't think that was even coming till September. So test production is still cool. So that's nice because I know that they made their first full vehicle over there. Let's see what else we've got on Twitter. Yeah, everybody's thinking that Herbert's going to come over to Tesla. I mean, I would love it. Truly would love for Herbert to come over. Again, I just don't know what his non-compete clauses are going to be. Let's see. What else do we have going on in the world of Tesla? Buybacks. What's Gary talking about buybacks? I must have missed this. Strongly favor initiating a buyback. Let me go into this thread. Let's take a look and see. All right, the journey of the cash flow, we knew that. And so this is another thing, and I know that, Leo had mentioned it a while back, talking about, doing buybacks. And this is something that we talked about the other day where Apple comes in, and Apple plays this game very well, and other good companies do it. They will let the stock run up. They will then do a split to bring the stock price back down. And then they do a buyback, which then brings the stock price back up. And then people then, of course, buy back into the stock more. It goes up even higher, rinse and repeat. And by doing so, they can really keep that stock price going up, and it keeps that valuation very high, which Tesla can do very well with, because they are going to have significant free cash flow coming in. I mean, obviously, with all the headwinds they were facing in the second quarter, Shanghai down, Austin and Berlin ramping heavily and slowly, and they still came in with over $600 million in free cash flow. Looking at how they trended up when it comes to, actually, I'll bring that back up too. Let me see. So going into the chart here, so I want to show you guys the free cash flow charts. Oh, is it further up? Did I miss it? No. Here we go. So here's the free cash flow. And, this here is where we're watching, they were still negative, but this is where we're starting to watch Shanghai. So Shanghai came online, and here's the ramp costs, significant ramp costs. And then look at how they just exponentially grew. And then now we drop down again, because this is basically the first quarter where Berlin and Austin were starting to ramp. This is the heavy ramp phase. So this right here mirrors this right here. And then we are going to start skyrocketing. So we'll see this take off the same way, but instead of having one factory, it's going to be two factories doing this. So now you start picturing this in your head. Now we start getting expansions of these factories coming in. Now we start getting new factories coming in. And we start to get to a point where you have 3 factories online, up and running, like Shanghai, just pumping out profit machines. And when you do start opening up new factories, yeah, you're going to get hit with RAM costs, but you're not going to feel it as much. So you're not going to get pulled back quite like this. Maybe you'll get a pullback like this in the hard parts. And then you'll still get that exponential growth afterwards as those new factories and expansions start to ramp. Mel, what's a good amount of shares to accumulate eventually to get to 1,050,000? So it really depends on what your time frame outlook is. I mean, how long do you plan on holding this stock for, and when do you want it to get to 1 million? For me, I would like to get it by 2025, but it all for me is based off of my price targets. And again, I'll be updating those over the weekend. And so when it comes down to it, really, I made a whole video on, actually, if you check out on the channel, it's, retire on Tesla. And it's my current price targets. It's not updated on there, but I will do a new video on that one with it updated. But that breaks it all down, however many shares, you've got, or how many you're going to need to hit $1 million based on what year, based on my price targets. And they're my price targets. And obviously price targets can vary widely amongst many different people. But yeah, so that breaks it all down in that video. Let me see, Texas. Yeah, Kyrov. That's actually, I could do it this way. Yeah. Oh yeah. Recommended added by 200 plus shares. That's awesome. I wish I could drop 200 shares. That'd be great. Now, where are we at here? Yeah, that's true. Shanghai, and don't forget, Shanghai ramps wicked fast. So seeing as they're basically done now, Shanghai getting themselves to that 23,800 capacity, I think is very achievable by the end of the year. So now if we're looking at 23,800, let me break this out over here. So if we do 23,800 plus, Elon said, they're hoping to get to 5,000. So let's go with their, I'm assuming, sandbagging numbers here. 5,000 each out of those other 2 factories, Austin and Berlin. And then as of right now, Fremont is doing, and they've been consistently doing, about 11,000 per week. So if that is the case, I mean, we're looking at 44,800. So they said on the earnings call that they're looking at getting to 40,000 per week by the end of the year. And I think that definitely is sandbagging, because I think they can easily get to, 45,000 a week by the end of the year. And so then, you multiply this out by, so we're looking at a run rate of over 2.3 million based on, I think, low numbers. So I have a feeling getting to that 50% year over year growth through 2023 is now basically locked in without a problem. And then, of course, we still have Austin and Berlin that need to ramp. And Austin and Berlin theoretically should be able to have a higher capacity than Shanghai. Obviously, it's going to take some time to get there, but they theoretically can get to that point. So, you start tacking on bigger numbers, it's just going to get that much more wild. Let me see what else we got here. Back to Twitter and see what else we got going on. If anything else new popped up. Oh yeah, go ahead, Kyra. You can drop that on. And actually, I don't even know if I've only been using Discord on my phone, so I don't even know if I can pop it up on here. But I should be able to. Shouldn't be a problem. Let's do this. Where am I at? Let me get back over to here. Let me see if I'm going to try to find Discord, because when Kyra puts it up, I can share it with you guys. Am I in? Ooh. All right, fine. You tell me my password's invalid. Well, that's fine. Take your time, because I'm trying to log in and I apparently don't know my own password, because I do everything from my phone. So I'll take a look at it on my phone. Not a big deal. So we'll get this back up over here. Oopsie. There we go. All right. So what do you think that Tesla is going to be doing for? Do you think they're going to be releasing anything at the annual shareholder meeting? Because Elon keeps on teasing new products coming out. And, he's already talked about the van on Twitter. We've seen that. I cannot wait for that. I think I'm actually more excited for the van now at this point than I am about the Cybertruck. I'm so torn. Which one am I going to drive? But, I don't know what else they're going to release. And he keeps saying that we're going to have, its own, special time to release it. So I don't know if they're going to do the annual shareholder meeting, but I have a feeling it's going to be coming in the second half of this year, and we're going to be able to start this awesome euphoric excitement in the second half of the year. And I talk about it all the time, and I have had some people that I know, we could call them insiders, who know that over in China, they are working on a compact car. Not much in the way of details on it. Personally, I think it's going to end up being, I'm hoping it's going to be the car that, a lot of you guys have been talking about, like over in Europe, a car that, over in Europe, I've been at least in enough places in Europe to know that having a smaller hatchback Golf type car is what you guys drive. You here in New England, we've got older roads that are tight, and you guys are in, not New England, you're Old England and other places like that. But it's, you have smaller roads. You need vehicles like that. So I'm hoping that's the vehicle that they're going to be coming out with in Shanghai. Probably, I'm guessing, getting released in 2024 along with the robotaxi. Because I hear a lot of bears talking about how Tesla, and the competition is coming. They've got lower priced vehicles. But again, you have to remember that Tesla right now can't even make enough of their current vehicles to support the demand that they have. So again, we go back to what they talked about in Q4 of last year, which is there's no point in bringing out any new vehicles right now because they cannot so if you brought out a compact car right now, you'd basically be saying, all right, well, we have chosen to not make profits anymore. So instead of making profits on all vehicles that everybody wants, we're going to release a lower priced vehicle to strip away the demand from the current vehicle lineup that we have, and then not even be able to keep up with the demand of that new vehicle because it's going to have even higher demand. Makes no smart, logical sense business wise to do that. So that's why 2024 makes more sense, because if they're going to be putting out 2.3 to 2.5 million vehicles in 2023, Elon has said that he's anticipating Model Y being the highest selling vehicle in the world in 2023. They're already on pace to do that. They're setting themselves up for that. So they'll be producing enough. Now it's just going to be a matter of, are they going to sell enough of them to make that happen? So that's going to happen going through there. Then as they start getting into 2024, where they are producing enough of these vehicles, now the question can possibly come up with, do they have the demand because of other lower priced vehicles coming out onto the market? And then at that time, Tesla can say, oh, by the way, we have a lower priced vehicle as well. And by the way, our lower priced vehicle is better and we're going to have much higher margins on it. So we're going to win again. And that's at least how I'm seeing it playing out. Let me see. Yeah, David. And then, and it's funny because my plan for my castle when I go over there is that I would have a luxury package that takes you to my castle Airbnb, and it's going to be an Airbnb that people can get to. And my ideal situation would be you fly over there. You're going to go on your nice romantic getaway, and when you land in the airport, you're going to have a Tesla robo-taxi waiting for you. And when you're signing up for your Airbnb, you're going to get to choose what kind of alcohol, if you want alcohol in the vehicle waiting for you, if it's champagne or wine. And then you're going to get to choose if you want to listen to music or maybe a tour guide telling you things. So you're going to get into your robo-taxi, and then it's going to drive you through the countryside of Italy and take you to the castle while you're enjoying your beverages and whatever music or sound you want to hear on the way. That is my goal. And maybe, with a robo-taxi, maybe it will end up being a smaller vehicle like that, because obviously I'm not from there. So maybe I will need a smaller one. But that is my intention and goal for when I have my castle. And yes, you are all invited when I get it. Yes. And I've heard from a lot of you guys over in Europe that is something that is definitely necessary. So I'm looking forward to it. And again, I don't think this is something that Tesla is just pushing off to the side and not even thinking about. I think they're thinking about it heavily. I think there's a lot of demand that they're going to see from this. And not even just for you guys in Europe, because it's going to be, better for you guys on the roads. Even here in the US, there's a lot of people who, can't afford a Tesla. I mean, right now they're looking at $50,000 to $60,000 for a Tesla. They can't buy that. They're going to need something under that $30,000 range. And so I think this is going to fit the bill on both ends. But as Elon has also said, when you cut down the price in half, it jumps up the magnitude significantly. So I think he said when you drop it down, the price down 10%, it doubles it. I can't remember the numbers he ran over, but it was a big jump the more you drop the price. So again, if they can't keep up with the demand on the price of the vehicles now, if you come out with a car that's significantly less, that demand is going to jump up even higher, and they would definitely won't be able to keep up with it. Yeah, and this is another thing that you're going to get into these points where this exponential ramp. Got to remember, it just started. The exponential ramp is going to keep on going, and there's so many things. We've got the Cybertruck, which is basically demand sold out through 2027. When we get the compact car that comes out, that's going to be basically demand that's going to be sold out through maybe 2030. Who knows? And then we've got the robo-taxi. And honestly, we know that Tesla's coming out with a robo-taxi, but what is their intention behind it? Are they going to do it like geo-fenced in areas? Because right now, FSD, when it comes to robo-taxis for other companies, they're all geofenced. Maybe Tesla comes out with it in 2024, and it has to be geofenced because of regulations. But again, I think the regulations are going to end up being these geofence areas are going to be the gateway to true FSD regulations on the road. When you start getting, the toes dipped in the water in these geofenced cities, and they can see that, yes, it is much more safe to have vehicles driving on the roads where the robo-taxis, then all of a sudden they're going to say, oh, well, what would it be, if it's everywhere? We really need to do this in more places than just these geofenced cities. Oh, by the way, Tesla has something that can be used everywhere. Now they can do it. And again, if these other companies are using LiDAR and radar and cannot figure out true FSD, when that regulation ends up happening, guess who's going to have the solution? Tesla. There's still a lot of time between now and then. Maybe somebody else does figure it out. But along the way, right now, Tesla is the only one that's going to be able to make that happen. All right, let me check this out. Sorry, I can't log in, so I won't be able to show you guys, but I'm going to jump on and see what we've got here. And if you guys don't follow him, Kairov, he's over on Twitter at @TeslaBot, and then of course he's in our Discord chat as well, and he puts out great numbers. Definitely follow him. Let me see, breakdown Shanghai. All right, let me blow this. Oh, let me do it this way. Shanghai lines active. All right, so Q3, he's got it at 205,000 for Q3, and then 280 for Q4. So, and that's just Shanghai alone. Oh my God. So 485,000 vehicles for the second half coming out of just Shanghai. I was hoping this year, obviously the shutdown screwed it up, but I was really hoping that in Shanghai, we were going to see them by themselves exceed the 936,000 vehicles that Tesla delivered all of last year. That would have been awesome. So they'll definitely do it in 2023. That's not even a question, because right now, if we're looking at 23,800, what was that? I think it was 1.2 million. Is that what the number we came up with? Let me see. So 23,800 times 52. Yeah, so Shanghai alone next year is going to be having a run rate annualized of 1.23 million by themselves. That's insane. And that's just one factory. So then you look at GM, who wants to do 2 million by 2025. I was like, all right, well, that's Shanghai. Let me see here. Yeah, I'm the same way. But for me, the way I look at it is I'm a country guy. I'm not really a fan of the city. I don't like to be around groups of people. It's my introvert nature. But when I do go to the cities, to be able to hop into a robo-taxi, because, as an introvert, I am one of those guys who's like, all right, you know what? I don't want to talk to people. If I have a choice, I have a friend who calls up. I don't even like to go through the drive-through to get food for anything. I'll go inside. I don't like that. So if I can not have to interact with an Uber driver or a taxi driver, and I could just hop in and use a robo-taxi, that would be awesome. But I'm like you, even though I'm in New England, here in New England, people are like, oh, I got to drive a half hour. That's a long ways away. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll drive 3 hours for a day trip to go hiking in New Hampshire. So I do like driving. So for me, I'm never going to get something where it's like that. Maybe if I'm going on a long road trip, I'll want to have that in my Cybertruck and in my Robo van, because then I can, basically get to where I want to get to for my destination and let the vehicle drive me. Let's see here. Yeah, Logan, they are just getting warmed up. And again, so looking at it, and not to be a FUD spreader or anything like this, we saw Tesla holding up extremely strong today with the market, and the market was pulling back. If we end up getting another dip, you've got to remember, if you're going to be a long-term investor, and I think all of you guys on here right now are long-term investors, if we get this dip that comes up, that is a great buying opportunity. We all have conviction in the stock that it's going to do super well long-term. If we get that pullback, if we pull back to the 742 mark where the gap is, or if we do fall, if we by freak chance get that massive crash that people are talking about and we end up pulling down to $400, that's fine. It's okay. Buy the poop out of it, because that just means that we're going to be able to multiply our money that much faster, because I think we will recover very quickly coming out of this. Yeah, Logan, you know what's funny? I've been to Tennessee before. And I went there to visit a friend when he was living in Nashville. And then I've been down to Nashville before for a Beachbody convention. And I've seen other friends who live down that way. And some of the places, I did not realize the hiking there was so good. I've been to West Virginia. I love the mountains there, love the hiking there, forgetting that Tennessee is the exact same mountain range that's there. And I do remember driving through it. And God, Tennessee is a long state. Like, and it just takes, and then you have to cross the time zone, so it just makes it even longer. Oh man, that took forever. But yes, beautiful there. I would love to go hiking out there. Yeah, Smoky Mountains. I want to get up to the West Coast too. I haven't been to like the Rockies. I've never been hiking, and I go hiking in San Diego when I visit my family. That's a great time. Let me see if we got any other news that's popping up here. Boom, boom, bum, bum, bum. Holmars, you guys follow Holmars? He's a riot. I think there's more. I think there's two guys that are on there, but let's see. Hyundai, Sawyer Merritt. Again, if you guys are on Twitter, these are some of the ones. Sawyer is one of the top guys to follow. He's like got all of the best Tesla news out there. Ooh, that's not good. We don't like that. No child labor. Boo, boo, boo. No, thank you. Unless I'm putting my kid to work, and then it's okay. Let's see what else we got here. Cybertruck. How many of you guys have Cybertruck reservations? And if you got it, when did you reserve it? Because I reserved mine last December, so I know I'm not getting mine for quite a while. Really kicking myself because I wasn't heavily into Tesla when they had announced it. I saw it and I was like, meh, it's not my style, not my thing. You know, I didn't know much about the company, so I wasn't jonesed up for it. So I let it go. Gosh, man, one of those things. The two things I'm kicking myself for: I didn't reserve my Cybertruck earlier, and I didn't get into the stock earlier. But hey, you know, you can't change the past, so you just do what you can do. Shanghai, 1.1 million. Okay, that is awesome. Yeah, that's definitely going to be a wild card. So Q3 is really going to give us Q3 is going to be exciting, and I think it's going to be exciting very much like it is almost every single year, because a lot of times we get into Q3 and we kind of anticipate what production and deliveries are going to be, and then Tesla usually blows that number out of the water. So now it's going to be even better, because coming out of Q2, it's really hard to predict what's going on because we had so many headwinds that we're facing. So it's not like we can say, all right, well, based off of Q2 numbers, we're going to see this much growth and we'll be fine, because we're going to see significantly higher growth coming out of Q3 just because we don't have those headwinds. Well, as of right now, we don't have any headwinds. So that's kind of like, I'm really thinking we're going to see some crazy high number coming out. Like I've got a 300, I'll update it this weekend. I think mine right now is 385,000 coming out of Q3. So, you know, if we hit 400,000 in Q3, that we will see all-time highs by the end of the year. I have no doubt we will. Let me see. Cam, damn, Cam, you got it in the first hour? Wow. Well, when you get it, you're going to have to send us videos so we can see, because you're going to be one of the first ones who gets this sucker, because my goodness, within the first hour. Yeah, and I'm really curious as to how many people doubled and tripled, because honestly, $150 to reserve the thing, that's not a lot at all. And so I'm sure some people went out there and reserved a whole bunch. Heck, if I had thought about it, I would have reserved 5 of them and just bought it and sold it off to someone else. Probably could have made a sweet profit on it. Never even crossed my mind as an option. But I know people right now are actually doing that with all Teslas. I was at a party and one of the guys there said that he actually has 6 Model Ys reserved, and he's waiting for them to get delivered. And he literally plans on just turning them right around and selling them for profit. Because right now, investing in the stock and the vehicle is a great way to make some money. And I know it's something Tesla is trying to not let happen, but what are you going to do? There's only so much you can fill up the demand. But then it makes me wonder how many people are doing this, or how much demand is true demand versus people who are just buying a whole bunch of vehicles in order to resell them. Again, we don't know. But again, I think as we're looking at inflation coming down, we may start seeing prices coming down on the Model Y probably middle of 2023, judging by the fact that we're going to start seeing inflation coming down. Demand will start to get caught, production will catch up with demand. And that'll be a good time because they'll probably end up coming out with the compact car at the same time they do the Model Y price drops and the Model 3 price drops. And the reason they're going to end up doing that is because if they come out with the compact car, which is significantly lower in price, it'll strip away a lot of demand from the Model Y. They don't want to strip that much demand away. So they'll bring the Model Y prices down to a point where people will then be able to make that decision of, ooh, do I really want to spend that extra money for the Model Y versus the compact car? And it'll be a tougher decision for people, and more people may end up going for the Model Y versus the compact car because of what the Model Y offers, and the price won't be that much higher. So I think that's what they're going to end up doing timing wise. It'll probably be middle to end of 2023. They'll start dropping those prices down. Let me see here. What else we got going on? Your comment disappeared. Oh, where'd it go? Yeah, I'm doing my updated price targets this weekend. I will be releasing them on Patreon first. So I'll have those out this weekend. I'll have them over on Patreon. And then probably the following week, because usually at the end of every month, I will do a video updating all of my price targets, updating production, updating my income. So all the stuff that I put out weekly on Patreon, I put out monthly on my YouTube channel. So you'll see it on here probably next weekend. So next weekend, what day is today? 22nd? Either next weekend or the weekend after. So if I don't do it this weekend, it'll be the weekend after. I'll have all my price targets out for you. Yeah, so I have not fully updated those yet. My job just consumes way too much of my time to be able to update my financial stuff over the week. Yeah, that's one of the things, and again, Mohammed, a lot of people are waiting for that to come out. Some people just can't afford it, and it's totally understandable. So there's just going to be people waiting for that vehicle to come out, and I have a feeling it's going to be 2024. Now, my thoughts on this are, looking at how they ramp vehicles up and how quickly they can ramp, and we're seeing Austin and Berlin ramping slowly. I'm curious as to when they release it, knowing demand is going to be extremely high for this vehicle when it comes out. I wonder if they're going to have a sort of different type of production ramp set up for it. So whereas we're seeing it taking 6 months for Austin and Berlin to just get to 1,000 vehicles per week, are they going to have this set where it's going to have even less parts in it? Production time may come down. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think right now it's 45 seconds per car in Berlin. So maybe it comes down to like a 20 seconds per car because of a compact car. So maybe they can pump out a lot more of these vehicles faster to get that ramp up faster. Because otherwise, if they're going to come out with, again, a 30,000 vehicle car, but they're not going to be able to produce enough and they're going to have lead times of 1 to 2 years, they're going to end up pushing customers away. So I'm sure they're working through a lot of that. Yeah, they're going to release it. I think they're excited about coming out with the robo taxi. So they'll have the robo taxi coming out, and that's going to probably consume a lot of what's going to happen in the cities. And don't forget, the cities are where most people are. So they're going to be able to get in the cities with robo taxis, really generate a lot of revenue there, and then they can come out with that compact car right around the same time for people in urban areas who aren't going to be using the robo taxi. Yeah. Kairov is really, really good. Like I do my production and deliveries, and I can help you guys out as well. But that's really what he focuses on is production, deliveries, financials, and stuff like that. So we're really building our community over there. If you guys want to join, definitely hop on, and he'll be able to help you out too. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of. The Golf is like the ideal car. Like when you're thinking about a car driving around Europe, you think of a Golf type car, and and if Tesla can come out with that made in Berlin, I mean, initially it's going to be made in Shanghai, but I think it's going to be designed and made in Shanghai first, and then when we get the expansion in Berlin, it's going to end up being made over there as well. Oh man, I don't even know, man. If I could get a Roadster, like I just the fact that it's $5,000 just to reserve the thing. No, thank you. That's just way out of my price range. But how many shares do you think to be able to? Oh my gosh, I don't even know. Like, how much is the Roadster 2 going to cost? Think about the fact that a Model S is like 120 grand. If they're going to have a Roadster Plaid, was it going to be $200,000 for that thing? And who knows what's going to be in it? I know initially they were talking about having rocket boosters and it being able to hover. I don't know if they're going to keep going that far, but let me see here. Yep, July 28th. That's going to be a big one for next week to confirm that. Yeah, I agree. That is something we were talking about earlier in the live stream. Was just that is looking at next week could present us with an amazing buying opportunity. And quite honestly, ideally, I would love for us to go into next week with some heavy macro FUD, pulling us down. We fill that gap, down to 77.42, maybe pull down a little bit further. And then that happens all right before we get to the annual shareholder meeting. Then all of that macro, uncertainty and weight can get lifted off of our shoulders to be able to soar out of the annual shareholder meeting, getting all that new news, and then soar all the way up until the split and get a nice run up into the split. Especially if we're going to get CPI data coming out in August that is significantly lower. Hitting a 9.1. If we can hit something under an 8% in August, I think we're going to see a massive rally coming out of that because that will indicate to the economy and the market that the stock market and the economy are not going to be going into a recession for a long time. We're not going to have to jack up interest rates as high. And while we're not going to be getting a soft landing, it might be softer than the hard crash that a lot of people thought we were going to get. So that might actually be able to push us up. Cam, thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. And I appreciate all the support you've been giving us. Oh man. Yeah. If you could be driving that in your 30s, and who knows what's going to come out by then. Maybe you'll drive around with your Optimus in the passenger seat. That'd be awesome. Yeah, I think that's what I think we're going to get. Again, we are still in a macro heavy environment where things are still going to swing. So Tesla is not going to break out for a long time. It'll break out, create a new range, and then we'll just kind of hover in that range. But we're still going to get a lot of buying opportunities, and it's going to hang that way until we end up getting out of this macro situation. And then once we're out of it, we are going to be able to run. Don't forget, we're in a risk off scenario right now. Risk off means that people do not want to take advantage and buy risky stocks. Any high growth stocks, anything that's not profitable, that just shows great potential. People don't want great potential. People want right now, they want show me the money. And that's why Tesla is the best of both worlds. Tesla shows us the money and they have great growth potential. That to me is why Tesla is that generational wealth company I want to invest in. Yes, Optimus driving you. Oh, speaking of Optimus, how many of you guys would get an Optimus? Just out of curiosity, how many of you guys would get a Tesla bot? Let's say it could be somebody like a Rosie from the Jetsons, who'd be able to do chores around the house, doing the dishes like I need to do myself, or just cleaning up around the place. How many of you guys would get one? Because I know I would. Again, as an introvert, to have a companion like that, I would love to be like living in a cabin in the woods with my Optimus and my dog and just chilling out there. That to me would be like the ideal life in the future. I mean, if there was a woman involved too, that'd be awesome too. But either way, I'd be happy with that. Let's see, did I miss anything up here? Yeah, and that's a great point too, because as you get older, that man, that didn't even cross my mind. Thinking about how robo taxis are going to be so awesome for the elderly who need to get to doctor's appointments, who need to get to the pharmacy to pick up their meds, and they don't feel comfortable on the roads. Many people drive out there and they're so mad, honking their horn at old people, get off the road. And it's like, they need to get places. They do. And if they can do it in a safe manner, because I know like my ex-wife's grandmother, she hated driving in the dark, hated driving in the rain, then just eventually get to the point where she hated driving because she didn't feel safe on the roads. So if we can get to a point where we can get them into vehicles, and obviously, somebody who's older and not used to having a car drive themselves could definitely be scary as well. But if we can get to a point where they feel comfortable about that and can get out there and be on the road safely, that's awesome. And then to have an Optimus be able to help them around the house that way, man, the amount of people it could help. They're living at home. They don't want to go to a nursing home. They're trying to be self-sufficient, but maybe they fall and get hurt and they need some help and they can't reach out to help. They can have this Optimus there to help them. Dude, that's awesome. That actually really excited me there. Thank you. Yes, and taking out the trash and cutting grass. But for those of you who are not parents yet, make sure that you keep your children doing the chores too. They need to learn a good work ethic. It's very important. So don't let your children rely on Optimus to do all the work for them, unless they're going to be doing work and living their dream and working at, at things that really drive them and their creativity. That's cool then. That's fine. But, learning discipline is always very important. Yes, exactly, Jerry. Learning, check vital signs. I can picture it similar to like Iron Man. He would check with Friday. Friday would tell him, Friday and Jarvis would, check his vitals all the time. If we could have an Optimist be able to do that and say, hey, you know what, I'm sensing right now that, your heart rate's low or your anxiety is up, something like that. I mean, that's obviously a long ways down the road, but that is definitely a potential that could come out. I mean, especially if we're getting Neuralink attached to things, and if Neuralink is going to be able to attach your brain to your Optimus and it can sense what you're thinking at all times. I mean, it's scary to think about because of the negative potentials, but the positive potentials I think are also just as awesome. Yeah, when it comes to affordability, I have a feeling they're going to be able to make an Optimus for between probably $5,000 and $10,000, and you'll be able to buy one for under 20,000. And I don't know if they'll come out with different trims and varieties of Optimus. I'm sure they will have all sorts of things, but yeah, that I think it's going to be relatively affordable. Thinking about right now, you go out and you buy an iPhone for $1,000, and people are like, "All right, $1,000, I'm going to buy an iPhone." Well, maybe you go out and buy 10 iPhones, and you're going to be able to get yourself an actual humanoid robot that's way better than an iPhone. Oh, what is this? Sounds like unions didn't like the ideas of having members fired just so we do. Really, I did not. I did not hear about any of this. I'm gonna have to look into that for sure. And I know VW. I mean, and I'm very well aware of the fact that Germany and Berlin and that area are very much like our Detroit and Legacy Auto and the UAW. So they've got their unions similar to how we have ours. So I know that battle is going to take place over there on the European front also. So that's actually very interesting. That's true. What did they say Optimus, the height was for Optimus? I can't remember. Was it 5'5" or something? Let's see. Yep, EV, FSD, solar panels, insurance, batteries, robots looking for. Yeah, seriously, Mohammed, there is a lot of stuff that hasn't even come to fruition for Tesla yet. So, I mean, when you're looking at the potentials of the company, like they're only in the EV market. that's where we're at. And you got to remember that Tesla's mission was not to create the best EV in the world. That's to change the world to sustainable energy. And we're just starting to get to that point. We haven't even gotten to the point where their energy business is the big piece of their business. And then, as Elon said, they're going to be moving up to AI, and they're going to be known more as a software and AI company than anything else. So that's even past the energy side of the business. Yeah, and SpaceX. My initial thought, as soon as they unveiled the unveiled Optimus, was that is exactly what's going to take us to Mars. Because when you're going to Mars, it's a 6 month journey. And what happens when you're on a 6 month journey? Heck, when you're on a 6 hour flight, you've got to have pilots and your stewards and stewardesses and your flight staff on there. I flew over here from Connecticut and New England all the way to Australia. It's a 26-hour flight. And on that flight, they've got to take breaks. They take their time off. Well, if you've got Optimus, who doesn't need to take time off, then you could just fly 6 months straight. Just, if his battery's dying, sit him in a seat where he's just literally plugged in, always energized, good to go. So you can just fly straight there with one Optimus, no problems. You don't even have to worry about, a flight staff and a crew and all of this. Really, I did not know that Dees wanted to cut jobs. I mean, it makes sense. A lot of companies right now, going into potential recessionary times, that's the wise thing to do for companies. So that's why, looking at these big companies cutting jobs, it's not a bad thing. This is a good thing. They're protecting themselves. And actually, the companies who are cutting jobs are the ones you probably want to invest in, which is why, Tesla cutting the jobs that they're cutting gives us a good sign for the future, because they're going to learn how to live on a more lean level. So they're going to be able to, get production up, because that's where they're focusing. They're still going to hire there. But if they can still make progress in the company at the same speed that they're doing it, but with less staff, that's going to be even better for the future, because that just means that they're going to have more revenue coming in and less expenses when it comes to payroll. Oh, he's 5'8". That's my height. No kidding. Cool. Yeah, Lena. Optimus is definitely going to cost less than a Tesla. Seems like from preliminary numbers that I had heard, again, it's probably going to be like around the 10, 15, $20,000 range. But again, we're going to get through so many different iterations of it. So the initial one, who knows? Hopefully we'll find out maybe some more information, because if they have a prototype, maybe we'll get an idea at AI Day 2 to let us know, hey, by the way, the cost of this prototype was, $5,000. So we can get kind of a ballpark idea of what it could cost to have it and then sell. And again, I'm pretty sure Tesla is going to be using the first ones in their own factories just to say, hey, we can do this. They're going to start having those Optimus robots start to learn the neural nets that are needed, just like FSD is learning, and this humanoid robot's going to learn it on the humanoid standpoint. So they're going to be going around the factory. So they're going to have, and at this point, we'll probably learn about Dojo. We've heard the rumors that Dojo is up and running right now. But when they start taking in all the information from not just all the miles being driven with FSD, especially if they're going to be getting to all of North America being open on FSD by the end of the year, that's a lot of information and data coming in that they need to process. That's where they're going to need Dojo for it. And then if they're going to start doing it for the Optimus side of things, they're really going to need even more compute power to make that happen. And again, that's where Dojo is going to come in. Yeah, Mohammed, actually, that's for me, for my financial point right now. I'm hoping to get to 100 by the end of this year post split, and then just keep on building. I don't plan on stop buying. And the more money, more cash flow I have coming in, the more I'm going to invest on a daily basis. That makes sense. So I'm wondering, just hearing from all of you guys here, thank you for all this information. Um, so that does sound like that's what was going on, is if he was, having that, so that's probably why he was stepping down. And that is an amazing point, Richard. Holy cow. Woo! And again, if he does have a non-compete clause for 2 years and we time it out and Tesla does end up solving FSD, we get to that 2025 mark where robotaxi is now on the roads, FSD is solved. We are now starting to get regulations coming through. We get to a point where Elon can then Yeah, and I know his biggest focus right now is on getting FSD solved. So if that's solved and out on the road, he can then look for that successor, and maybe Dees is that successor. That is a great point, Richard. Thank you for that. Price targeted for 4,600. Let me actually, based on my numbers right now, I'll bring mine up. So looking at my valuation model for 2026, yeah, I mean, I've got currently right now, before I update it this weekend, my price target for 2026 is 48.19. So 48.9. So I'm right around the same ballpark, and I came up to it a different way than they do because they broke down FSD and they go into a lot deeper numbers with that stuff. For me, I go based on the numbers that I know currently, and then when I take into account like robotaxis, FSD, energy, Optimus, and AI, and all of that stuff in the future. For me, that's where I just tweak my PE a little bit, because then I'm like, all right, well, how much do I think the company is going to grow based off of numbers that we truly don't know right now? And that's kind of where I throw those numbers in. So we came up to it a different way, but basically the same price target. Oh, no, that's a great point too. So Dees is 63. Yeah, okay, all right. But again, I still would like Dees to come over, and whether he's going to be the successor or not, at least to have him on board as another leader in there. So even if it's an interim thing where Elon's like, you know what, I'm going to go focus on SpaceX a little bit more right now, and Dees can be there and at least be a temporary at the helm. I think that's fine, because even if he's 65 at the time, I think it'll be perfectly fine. And who knows? I mean, honestly, Zach Kirkhorn, I think, could do a good job of it. I don't know if they're still trying to work him up. I don't know, if Drew Baglino would come in and step in to be the number two. I mean, I know they don't have a true number two right now, but they do have some good leadership at Tesla, so I think they'll be okay. You know what? Ooh, I wonder if the non-compete would stop him from being a board member. And we just had Larry leave, so maybe Dees comes on and takes that role. I know they said they weren't planning on filling it. Maybe now they will. Wow, you guys are bringing up some great points. Yeah, Kyra, I'm thinking the same thing. I think Zach would be, he's basically the one who, when Elon wasn't on the earnings calls last year, Zach was the one who ran it. So I think he's actually the one that they are grooming to take that role over. So I just don't know if Zach has, what Elon is looking for. I don't know if they're working on him, because he's definitely a quiet guy. He's more like me, and I'm a manager, but I'm that kind of nice guy type manager where I don't come across. And I know Elon has been known in the past to, bark at people. So I don't know if Zach has that in him or if they're working on it. Let's see here. Palace of value stocks, explorers, defensive, such that. I will have to take it. Wow, PE of 4.86. My goodness, that's super low. Yeah, I will have to take a look at that. Yeah, I am really hoping maybe we'll get some more information over the next couple of weeks about Dees, his departure, what his limitations are about going to work for another company, if he could be a board member. Definitely some exciting things that could come out of this, because honestly, all of the feedback I have seen all over Twitter and everybody's reaction is, we want Dees to come over to Tesla. So I think that would be an awesome acquisition to get, in whatever manner we can get them. Any information we can get. And obviously, we've talked about it on here before. I personally think that VW, when it comes to legacy auto, is the best competitor that Tesla has. And I think competition is going to be good for Tesla for the next 3 to 5 years either way, because it's going to help transition everybody over to EVs. And to have VW, who is basically the main worldwide competitor for Tesla, yeah, to have that inside information would be awesome. All right, GAAP EPS for the quarter. Yeah, let's see what Tesla Q says. Let me see because I haven't updated my quarterly for Q3 yet because my previous one was $3.65. So that was before I had before I updated this weekend. So yeah, so you and I are right around the same ballpark for that there. Let's see what else we got. Anything else? Bloom is coming in for Dees over at there. Oh, the Evergrande CEO resigns. I don't know if you guys remember the Evergrande stuff that was going on, but yeah, that was a matter of time. That was a huge collapse. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that they're definitely going to want to work together, so I can see it. Let me see here. Yeah, so I don't know if it was all about the Snap earnings that caused it. I think it caused a slight domino effect because Snap missing on their earnings caused other social media networks to also drop. So Google came down, Meta came down, and because those two came down and they're so large, that brought the entire market down. And then when the entire market comes down, everything else sells off. So you've got to remember that because these large companies are in lots of different portfolios all over the place, 401k plans, institutional portfolios. When they come down, the whole basket that they are in comes down as well. So every other stock that is in that basket will also end up dropping. So that's what ends up causing that domino effect. So yes, Snap may have been that first domino that fell and triggered the rest. And of course, when the entire market comes down, a lot of people sell off. And then you look at the macro environment too. And we talked on this morning's video is 4,000 was that level for the S&P that that was that teetering point. And so if we were able to cross 4,000 today and hold above it, I was talking to Seed in the comments, there was probably going to end up being a gamma squeeze and a massive run, which would have been a euphoric, unnatural run, which would have been a great time to make some profits and possibly sell out. So if he ended up doing that and sold out, then we would have ended up pulling back down to these levels anyway. We did not cross that 4,000 level and hold it. So now we're going to pull back down. Now we just have to wait. Are we going to pull back down further, or are we going to rebound and find a new footing where we're at? So that's just kind of the question we're at right now. But yeah, I think Snap ended up starting that trigger effect. Polestar, Ross Gerber loves Polestar. Polestar is one of those companies who's actually producing and selling vehicles, unlike some of the legacy auto GM. So I think they're good, and they're one of those, just quiet companies. They're not going to come in here. They're not going to be a number 2 player. They're maybe going to be in the top 10 when it comes to EVs over the next 5 years in the US. I think they're going to have a solid vehicle. Any company right now that is producing and selling EVs, I'm on board with. So I'm all on board with Polestar. I actually had them before they had converted over. I had them as GGPI, and I made some good profits on them before they ended up coming over because I knew as soon as they converted, it was going to drop below $10. So I made sure I sold mine out. And actually, I don't even know where they're at right now. Yeah, Snap. And I was talking about Snap earlier too, because I owned Snap before the COVID crash, and my cost basis was like $15.50, and it crashed down, it was like around $8. I bought a little bit more in there to lower my cost basis a little bit more, but that was early on in my really hardcore trading days and learning, and so it came back up. And I didn't know enough about the market. I didn't realize that we were going to have this nice V-shaped recovery and come skyrocketing out because interest rates were at 0%. So I've now since learned this. But when Snap got back to that level, I broke even. I sold out. Of course, we saw a skyrocket. I could have made massive profits. Whatever. I missed out. I learned. But now it's well below where I had sold it for. So now I'm a happy camper. Yeah, margin calls definitely saw. And so if you guys are paying, so you guys who are newer to the market and learning everything overall, Fridays, especially around that 1:30 mark, that's usually when a lot of margin calls get triggered. So that's why we pay attention to that 1:30 mark on a Friday afternoon Eastern time, because after that time, that's when a lot of stuff gets triggered. And if we see that topple happening, domino effects can happen after that. Because if you have a lot of margin calls, stock price drops of something, and then all of a sudden the next level gets hit, the next level gets hit. That's why when you're watching momentum plays, be real careful, because they will collapse, because a lot of people jump into them with margin to make that quick profit, and then bang, that rug gets pulled out from underneath them and it's gone. Well, don't forget that GM was down. GME GameStop was down that much today because they split. So today was their split day. That's why it's going to show a monster loss. When Google split, it showed the same thing. When Tesla splits, it'll probably show the same thing as well. So that's why there was that massive percentage drop for GME. Yeah, I won't short Tesla. The only way I will ever short Tesla is when I can actually get in and do options, and then I'm going to start selling puts, because selling puts is I'm going to get a premium because I want to buy a stock for a lower price. So I've got a lower price, and basically I do that right now. I will set limit buys at a lower price, and I'll wait for it to get triggered and come in. So now when you do it with options, it's basically doing the same thing, but you're doing it with a larger quantity with 100 shares, because every options contract is 100 shares. You do that, you sell your puts, you go ahead and get it, and then if it doesn't trigger, then you miss out on any upward gains on it, but you still get the premium. So it's kind of a win-win situation. I know a lot of people who play it that way. Where did it go? There we go. That's actually, you've never even thought about that, because like we see the parking lot fill up significantly. So I don't know enough about their logistics when it comes to shipping these vehicles out, and the fact that they've got this giant parking lot full of Teslas, and then they have their car carriers take them out. They take them to the docks, and then they load them onto the boat, and they go away. So I honestly I don't know. I mean, man, because they're going to be pumping out 23,000 per week. Yeah, they're going to be investing a lot more in logistics for sure, which is another reason why Elon himself said that it's so important for them to have factories in places closer to where the people are, because you can do direct deliveries right from there. You don't have to worry about having this parking lot full. Yeah, production, if it is production, it's going to be super limited production, in my opinion. If we'll know more at AI Day 2 when they come out with the prototype, to see how far along they are. Because as Elon has said before, they could take a team of 500 people in 6 months and put out a prototype for just about anything. And you think about it, when he unveiled Optimus for the first time, guess what happened? About 6 months later, we're having Optimus coming out as a true prototype. So with that said, and looking at production starting, if they do, I don't know how many they'll produce. I don't even know where they're going to produce them. I would imagine they're going to produce them coming out of Austin. Maybe, they said production support is what that new expansion is going to be in Austin. Maybe production support is where they're going to be having Optimus be made, because Optimus technically is for production support. So we'll find out probably more information in the next couple of months. Lucid mass producing cars, they will be able to. I mean, they're putting up factories. They're going to have a factory put up over in Saudi Arabia, and with the Saudis backing them, I have no doubt they're going to be able to mass produce cars. But they're going to basically they've got to pick up the pace, because if they go at the same pace Tesla went at, it's going to take them way too long, because it took Tesla obviously 10 years to get where we are now. So if it takes Lucid 10 years to get where Tesla is now, that's way too long. So I would hope they're going to speed up production. So if they don't collapse financially, then I think they will definitely be able to mass produce cars in the future, maybe 5 to 7 years down the road. But yeah. Yeah, it's okay. I had to learn it the hard way too, David. That's I picked that one up when I can't remember who split the last time when I saw it, and I go, "What the heck is going on?" Agro. Yeah, I'll have to look into some of these other stocks. And I know a lot of people on here are, mostly all in Tesla or they do venture around, but there are some other stocks that I do play with. Tesla is at this point right now 63% of my portfolio, aiming to get it to 69%. But I've got some other stocks. So these are ones I would definitely look into. And right now, my QILD as a dividend play, considering the stock market's so bearish, it's been doing very well for me. Pulling in, an annual dividend of 11 to 12% is significant. Where do Tesla plan on parking all the roads? So this is actually something that they had brought up before, which is think about all of the different parking areas that you have in inner cities. Now, if you're going to have robo taxis going out there and you're going to need significantly less parking because more people are going to be using robo taxis. So you could take a lot of those parking lots that will end up becoming vacant, and Tesla can buy those up to store and charge all of their robo taxis at. Then don't forget, too, where do people park their taxis at? The taxi service may end up going to the wayside. We already saw them lose a lot of their business when Ubers and Lyfts came out. Ubers and Lyfts are going to end up getting pushed to the wayside as well when robo taxis come out. So wherever the taxis are getting right now stored are probably going to end up getting bought up by maybe Legacy Auto, by Tesla. So that's where they're end up going to be getting stored, and they'll be able to charge. Yeah, and I keep forgetting about the fact that they have another factory coming up in Shanghai, and that factory in Shanghai is not the same one, and it's not an expansion on the one that they have right now. It is in a different location. So I keep forgetting about that one. Let me see. Yeah, Michael, I'm really curious as to where it's going to come down, and I keep all of my options open. I've been watching the trend. It's obviously been trending upwards over the last couple of months. We've been on a nice slow growth. We saw the breakout. So for me, for it to get back down to 625, it is not going to be a Tesla related thing unless something massive comes out negative for Tesla. I think if we end up getting back down to the 620, 625 level, it's going to be because the entire market does pull back and we have the S&P coming down to 3,400. If it pulls down that far, that is when we are going to see Tesla pull down to that level. So we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. For me, the way I'm playing it is I've now worked it up to, I have 9.3% cash in my portfolio. I'm working up to 10%. Anything over 10%, I'm going to be splitting between QILD and Tesla. And then I'm saving that 10% cash. And if we end up getting that massive crash down to, that 600 level or lower, that's when I'm going to deploy my capital and start dumping in heavier. So yeah, that mystery building. So I think that's the one that for production support. So we'll see what actually comes out of there. Yeah, the slower growth on the bigger companies, and again, they're still good growth companies. They're still companies that I think are going to be strong for the next 10 years. But these are also companies that are not at the beginning of an S curve like Tesla is. So they're near the top of their S curve. They're trying to come up with new and creative ways to make more money. So because they've got to get creative, you think about Legacy Auto. When you get to a point of an S curve where your meat and potatoes product isn't generating the revenue and profits that it used to because there is a lot of competition out there, you've got to think outside the box. That's when they started getting into parts and service when it comes to Legacy Auto. That's where they generate most of their profits from. So they've got their profits coming out from all their parts and service. And then they started making vehicles more difficult to repair. So people can't do them at home. So they have to bring them down to a dealership. And then they realized that, people are going to, mom and pop shops or their friends who, can work on cars and are mechanics. So they started coming out with stuff that required special tools that only that legacy automotive maker had. So now you had to take it down to the dealership again because it had to be a special tool. And you can only get that special tool if you're a certified mechanic with that company. And it was a whole racket of all these things. And that's kind of the area that these Google, Amazon, and Apples are getting to. Think about Apple. The accessories are very specific to Apple. You have to have Apple specific accessories and chargers and cables to only work with them. So, they've got to get creative with the stuff. So yeah, they're going to show that slowing growth for sure. But you don't like his voice, but he's got that soothing voice, that accent that just lulls you in to buy his product. Let me see. Really, you'd rather buy one of those two? I'd love to hear why. I'm not opposed to anybody doing and making their own decisions for whatever they want to do. I'm obviously a big Tesla bull, and I did own GM a little bit last year, and it was more from a momentum play because they had some good news coming out. But I would be interested to see why you'd rather buy those. Let's see. I don't know, but though the master. So I've heard so many awesome stories about the summon feature. My friends they had their Model Y at the grocery store, and they had it driving over to them, and this older woman was in the car next to them, and she saw it backing up, and then she's like, "Hey, I loved your car." She goes over to them. She goes, "Oh my God, I wasn't sure what was going on because I love the car. It was a beautiful looking car, and then I saw it moving, and I realized there was nobody in the driver's seat. I thought it was rolling away on its own." So I don't know when they're going to master it. Obviously, they're working on FSD and a lot of things, but it will be exciting. But it is pretty awesome, and I can't wait to get mine and utilize it. Yeah, for me, for my main portfolio, I'm not touching it. I'll sell out some in my IRA. I've got my sell order in for one share at 850 if we end up hitting that level and bouncing down. So I'm going to play swings like that in my IRA because it's tax free. I don't want to gamble with it like that in my main portfolio. That's just I don't have enough shares in there anyway. I'm more of just an add and ride it out kind of guy. But honestly, knowing the charts and seeing where the charts are going, I'm anticipating us definitely pulling back down to that 742 mark to fill that gap. So that may not be a bad play at all. Let me see where I've got my PEs at, because I definitely got here. So my PE for 2023. See, my PEs are significantly higher than yours. And again, that's where I fluctuate my numbers, is on the PE. So like 2023, I've got it at 85. 2024, I've got it at 75. And I just keep knocking it down from there as the company grows. But because of the fact that, we do have so many unknowns coming out, that's just how I've got mine set. Yeah, exactly, Ian. That's what we were getting at before. And I've seen plenty too, even in places that don't have big cities. There's a lot of companies that have gone out of business, a lot of abandoned buildings, a lot of abandoned spaces that are out there. So there's definitely plenty of room for all these car parks. Good night, David. I know I missed it a little while ago. Hopefully you're still on, but thanks for hanging with us. I know it's late there. Yeah, that's that to me, and that's why a lot of bears are out here saying, it's an unrealistic market cap for Tesla. They've got, they're at this size and still being able to grow 50% year over year. And I think that's the piece that a lot of people don't get, is Elon can understand a lot of things that most people don't understand. He is an extremely data-driven brain, and that's how he can get to where he's at and be so successful. And that's why he can come up with production numbers and be so accurate. Yes, things like FSD, things that aren't very specific when it comes to numbers, and it's just not a matter of doing math long term. There's other factors involved. That's harder to predict. But when it comes to just straight math, that's easy to predict. And so he's predicting production numbers. We hit those production numbers. When we get things that pop up that are, unusual, like the Shanghai shutdowns, that throws things off. And I think that's part of the reason why they'll sandbag numbers, because they can see the top line where they can hit, but they'll undercut that and they'll sandbag numbers because they're trying to factor in unknowns and variables that they can't control. And so that's why it plays out, and why, despite all of these headwinds, they could still potentially get 50% year over year growth. And again, because they can do all of these things that most people don't understand, then that's why you're going to have people who are bears saying, well, the price target's way too high. And just because people don't understand the potential that could be out there. Yeah, that's their software, and the fact that they at least they admitted that they need to reach out and get help with software. So admitting your problem is the first step. That's another great point too, Richard. That's just something that a lot of people overlook. Legacy Auto is massively indebted. I mean, it's disgusting. And looking at the profits, and we had done a video a while back when Vinny was on, and we were discussing the fact that right now, based on today's numbers, GM has to produce 5 times as many EVs as Tesla to make the same profits. So for every one EV that Tesla sells, GM has to sell 5. And so if GM's saying that they're going to be able to get to 2 million by 2025, that's awesome. Let's assume that Tesla just decides that they want to stop producing and selling more vehicles over the next 3 years, and they cap themselves at 2 million. Tesla is still going to be significantly more profitable at that point, meaning that GM would have to sell 10 million vehicles in that year to make the same profits as Tesla. And when you're trying to pay off debt and you're not making the profits and you're spending a lot more money, you're not going to be able to pay off that debt. You're always going to be growing your debt. Legacy Auto right now is very much like the US government. Hey, you know what? Our debt's super high. We're not knocking it down. Let's just raise the debt ceiling and bring on more debt. At some point, that domino is going to collapse and they're not going to be able to make it. And somebody's going to call them out. And it's basically like they're going to get margin called. And somebody's going to say, all right, pony up the cash. We want it back now. And that's where they're going to start collapsing. Oh, where are you from, Ian? Oh, I think you're from England. I think I know at least one of the Ians that I know is from England. I don't know if you are. So what do you guys have for retirement plans? Like we've got a 401k and an IRA. I don't know enough about global retirement stuff and what's going on over there. So that would be something interesting for me to learn. And you are so right. Every like once or twice a week, I keep thinking, I was like, oh my gosh, I keep forgetting that Tesla's Master Plan Part 3 is still not out yet. And like ironically, where is it? Over here, like I still have this up because I'm waiting. I'm waiting for Master Plan Part 3 to come out because I've got Master Plans Part 1 and 2 still up, so I can, revert back and take a look and see what's going on with the master plans. Let me see here. Yeah, it's so funny because Elon's all about the bots. He wants to have the bots. Now he's going to have the bots because he's going to have to buy Twitter. So the way Holmars put it, I liked, which is basically before we knew that Tesla or Elon was buying Twitter. That was going to happen. So Elon is now trying to back out of the deal. He still has yet to sell his shares of Twitter. So that leads me to believe that he is still interested in buying them and maybe is actually using this as a bargaining chip to get it for less. And when they take it to court, they're going to work down the price, especially since Twitter bombed their earnings and they dropped significantly. So it's even less. So, for me, I think he's still going to end up getting it. I don't know. It'll be interesting. But again, a lot of people are like, oh, Elon is doing this. He's screwing up the stock. Elon buying Twitter has nothing to do with the fundamentals of Tesla whatsoever. It may swing the stock price because other people are getting overly dramatic about it. My personal take on it is if this ends up happening and people are going to sell out and drop the price of Tesla stock because of it, I'm going to buy more because eventually the actual true fundamentals of the company are going to show. And this is going to be a one-off situation. And eventually all of that drama is going to go away and we'll recoup all of those profits back and the stock price will go way back up. Let's see what else we got in here. That's so true. And then GM just unveiled their. Let's see if I could find it on here because I know somebody had it on Twitter earlier today. GM just unveiled theirs. Argus, Sawyer Merritt. They lowered their price target from 1313 to 1123. Still very good price targets for Tesla over the next 12 months. So I'm not too concerned about that. Honda is slashing production by up to 30% in Japan next month. I mean, still slashing production out of these places. Where's the GM? They had the commercial up earlier today for it. No. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and everybody's like, oh, there's so many models that are coming out, and GM or Tesla doesn't have all the models. And I'm like, yeah, but the more models you have, look at Legacy Auto and how they deal with it now. The more models they have, the more money it's going to cost them. And it comes down to, the law of scaling. When you have larger scaling of one vehicle, it's going to cost you less because you're so much more efficient at it. And by having so many more models out there, oh, hello, Optimus. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So, like, that's their flagship, the Celestiq. And not only that, but look at, they've got to advertise. Does Tesla advertise? No. So people are going to see this, and it'll reportedly cost $300,000. Like, seriously, like, that is the tip of the market. So I don't know. That's just my take on it. So I don't even know how many they're going to produce, but if it's anything like the Hummer, like you said, they'll produce like three a month if they're lucky. Yeah, that's another great point too, Richard. I thought about that earlier. The fact that, with the vehicles that Berlin produced, they were already profitable. So that means that, as we saw the massive hit when it came to free cash flow and the margin numbers, at 27.9%, that means that number is going to go up significantly in the third quarter for Berlin alone. And seeing as that Austin's going to be able to catch up to the ramp speed of Berlin was in second quarter, that means that here in the third quarter, Austin is also going to be profitable in the third quarter. So being profitable there, margins, I think, are going to be back over 30% again for Q3 for vehicle margins. And I would love to see us, I don't know if we'll get back to 20% for operating margins, but it could be close. They've got a lot of stuff working in their favor, so it might happen. All right. Individual savings account, tax-free, capped at 20,000 deposit. Okay. All right. That makes sense. Yeah. So our IRA here is capped at 6,000, and then 401k is capped at 14,000. So between the two, we're basically around the same point. And then here in the US, we also have, because we don't have universal health care, I have like an HSA account, which is nice because there I can cap out at $3,000 a year, also tax-free. So I dump in a ton of money into that to cap that out. Bahamas. I was down there on a cruise a few years back. Oh, so nice. Let's see. Yeah, Michael, and that's so. And I understand that's why you're, going with something more solid where you get the information for GM and Ford. I understand that. When it comes to the mixed data, that's why for me, a lot of that mixed data is noise. And I try my best to sift through all of that noise and find the true fundamentals of the company. And Elon is pretty straightforward. I mean, he doesn't hide things unless it's something that he's not allowed to say. All the interviews that he does basically gives us, insight as to what the company is doing in real time. You don't get a lot of that from the GMs and Fords. Usually have to wait until their quarterly report and their earnings reports to find out where their numbers are at. Somewhere along the way, Elon is just so excited about the company and the business. He's going to let us know what's going on every step of the way so we can figure it out. That's why we constantly, every single week, many people are updating production numbers, because every single week we're getting new information to be able to update production numbers. You don't get that out of GM and Ford. Maybe you do. Maybe I'm not following the right channel, so I apologize if I'm wrong there, because I'm so involved with Tesla. So maybe there are places where you can get that info. But the fact that I can get that from Tesla tells me that, I can see the fundamentals, I can see the growth trajectory. That's where I want to be, and that's where I want to have my money. And all the Twitter stuff and all that other unknowns and the drama and the market manipulation, that's when I follow the charts, and I see market manipulators usually follow technical analysis. So if I am looking to buy or sell out of my IRA, I just follow the charts on that. And that's why for me, I'm okay with being in Tesla versus the GM and the Fords, because I also see long-term GM and Ford having some massive struggles, especially because of all of the debt that they're in and the fact that they are way behind the 8 ball when it comes to EVs, and their EVs aren't profitable yet. So that's going to be a massive headwind that they have to face going forward. Yeah, and that is the old school mentality that legacy auto has, is they have these models. So if they're going to do EVs, they're basically copying and pasting their legacy automotive ways of doing things into EVs. That's not what Tesla did. Tesla created a whole new way of doing things. Tesla basically took, like an iPhone type of manufacturing and did it with cars. So that's what he ended up doing, and that's why they are so successful with the few models that they have. No different than the iPhone when it comes to legacy auto. And now Ford has mentioned it themselves, how, going down the road, they are going to have to figure out how to manufacture like Tesla does, because, if they don't do that, they're never going to be able to survive. They understand Tesla's manufacturing is far superior to theirs. So that's why they are coming up with new factories. But then you also have to remember that they have also said that Tesla can get factories up and running and ramped significantly faster than all of them. They don't know how to do that. So by the time they get their factories built over the next 1 to 2 years, it's still going to take them 2 to 3 years to fully ramp them. So that's 5 years that it's going to take something that takes Tesla 2 to 3 years to do. So they still just can't catch up. Yeah, somebody was joking earlier that she's going to be going the way the Herbert D's and have to step down. I'm really curious as to how that's going to play out over there at GM, because they keep on saying things, and I'm really kind of pissed off at the fact that they keep touting the UAW and American jobs, and this is great for American jobs, and we're going to put up a factory in Mexico. Like, what? And not only that, but like the fact that they're putting up in Mexico is the factory that's actually going to be producing a vehicle that could produce at relative volume when it's the Blazer, because that vehicle there would sell more than the Celestiq. So like the factory that actually is going to produce a mass amount of vehicles isn't even in the US. Like, come on, man, that's not cool. All right, yeah, 31%. So yeah, I'll update mine because as of right now, I had them predicted at 30.2% margins for Q2. Clearly missed that one. But I was not anticipating the hit that they took. So ironically, I have them at 31.3% for Q3. So right on par with you there. Yeah, I mean Tesla dips, and you have to remember, because Tesla's a beta of 2.0, so it swings significantly more than any value plays or the legacy auto plays. I don't even know what the beta is on GM or Ford. If you know, let me know. Actually, I can look it up right now. I can find this out. GM. Yeah, GM's beta is 1.28, and Ford's beta is 1.24. So, when you're looking at that compared to the Tesla, which last I knew was 2.0, so it should be the same. 2.12 for Tesla. So yes, when you have a stock that's high growth with a beta that's almost twice the amount of the other companies, it's going to swing more. So that's another piece for me that's why I follow the charts, because a lot of people manipulate it. And then you got to remember, Tesla isn't investor grade rating when it comes to credit yet. And as soon as they are, a lot more institutions are going to be able to get into the stock. And that in turn will bring the beta down. So those swings when it comes to the dips, that'll level off. So yeah, I mean, Tesla is not for the faint of heart. And unless you really know what's going on in the company, totally makes sense to go with something that's less volatile. I understand that fully. And looking at institutional ownership. Where did it go? Yeah, so Tesla's institutional ownership is 42%, 51% for Ford, and 80% for GM. So that's why those two stocks don't swing a lot, just because they're so heavily owned by institutions. Yeah, I get it. And my dad's 70, and so he's similar. For him, he gets in and out of Tesla, and he actually plays the swings. So those dips that you see, that's when he'll get in and get out. So for him, he's got a buy set down to 750, I think, at this point. He had one down to 650, where a lot of other people had it as well. So he swings with it, but I get it. Some people, I mean, I have many subscribers on here who are older, and they are all in on Tesla because it's just a different mentality. And a lot of people invest for a lot of different reasons. That's why there's a lot of different companies out there. See you later, Kairav. Have a good one. Let me see. And I may be parting ways shortly too. I'm loving these live streams, guys. This is fantastic. I'm glad I was able to get this up and running and working. Let's go through Twitter and see if there's any new information that came out. Let's see here. No, it doesn't look like anything new here. All right. Oh my goodness, been on for almost 2 hours. It's like hanging out with all my friends. This is awesome. Well, I am going to go, guys. I've got to have some dinner and relax. I've had a very busy and long week, especially with earnings going on. This was awesome. Thank you guys all so much. I will see you guys tomorrow. This weekend, I will be putting out videos for. I'm going to update my price targets. I probably won't release them entirely here because I got to put them over on Patreon. But I'll give you guys some insights as to what I came up with over the weekend, some of my production numbers. And otherwise, I will see you guys all later. Again, if you guys want to check out Kairov's production and delivery numbers, check him over on Twitter at @ATeslaBot, or he's on our Discord channel, which that link is in the description. Otherwise, thank you guys all so much. Have yourselves a great one. We'll see you later.